Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here, joined by Scott McKinley, as we are each and every week. We're going to give our grade cards. We're going to talk about where we think Oklahoma State football is at. We're going to talk a little bit about last week, but we're going to move on to West Virginia as well. So, Scott, how you doing today, man?
Well, the sun is shining. It's not 100 degrees, so I got to count our blessings when we can. You know.
Absolutely. What in the hell is going on with OSU football, man? You're always a level-headed guy, right?
Yeah, I try to be. I try not to be the one that panics, but yes. I'll be honest with you, even I've got a little bit of panic going on this week, I think. To be honest, the thought that I had coming away from this last weekend is, real quick, name one position group, one coaching group that is playing or performing well right now, and I'm struggling. I mean, we're even missing field goals, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I can't quite figure out. You know, I was kind of starting to get a little bit excited, or at least I say optimistic in the first quarter, because it seemed like things were starting to click a little bit. We're starting to get some running lanes open for Ollie. Good things are happening. And then all of a sudden we just kind of went away from it, and we just went back into that shell that we seemed to have been in for the funk we've been in for the last, 3 or 4 weeks.
You are definitely the level-headed guy, so I love asking these questions. Where are you at with Casey Dunn?
It's one thing that Gundy has always said is he kind of reserves judgment until the end of the season. Okay, is it possible? Let's say that we went out from here. I mean, all things are possible.
That's a good point.
It may change, but I will say this: I really don't like what I'm seeing right now. I think that's as fair as an assessment as I can give at this point.
You got to be fair. It's got to get better. I mean, it just has. Yeah. Even if guys like you and I want to defend Casey Dunn, it has to get better. There's just like Brian Nardo. We love Brian Nardo. We both think that he is an X and O guru type of guy. I think he's trying to fit a peg into a round hole right now with the type of defense we're playing. But bottom line is, it just has to get better. You can't defend the results at this point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I think that struck me is that we're making mistakes and making calls that really will make you scratch your head. Yes. One of the most obvious ones, was the running Alan Bowman twice in a row. That's one that was a head scratcher. I actually like it once, just from the standpoint of its surprise. You're really not expecting that. Twice in a row, that one was a head scratcher. And the other thing I'd say with Nardo's defense, and it's something we even talked about it, I believe in the preseason show, is this defense for whatever reason, last year's has had a propensity to give up really big plays. We seem to have been able in the past at times to clamp down on them whenever they get inside the red zone, which is okay. That's good. I mean, you got to give pauses where it's at, but man, we got to quit. I mean, there's times where there's running lanes where I'm like, Mike, there was one touchdown K-State scored. I think I could have scored. We can't. We've got to close those holes up. So, and I don't know if that's bust. I don't think it's an effort thing. I mean, some of it has to be scheme. Yeah. So, like you said, we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. But no matter what it is, man, we got to get it fixed. We got to get it fixed in a hurry.
The blessing and the curse of the way Mike Gundy, the way that he's just slow on change, right? I mean, he's always gotten it right in the past, whether it be quarterbacks or whether it be the type of offenses to run or personnel, whatever it may be. We've wanted him to put in maybe a Zach Robinson sooner, or a Brandon Whedon sooner, or maybe even a Spencer Sanders sooner, something like that. But he always has gotten to the right guy and the right personnel and made the right decisions, and he's always come through for Oklahoma State in these moments of crisis, like in 2009 when we got shut out by OU, went and got Dana Holgorsen, in 2014. Yes, we all wanted Mason Rudolph to come in sooner, but he did he got to Mason Rudolph in time to get Oklahoma State to a bowl and springboard you into 2015. And so, yes, he does get to the right decisions, but it takes him forever. So, I mean, how do you feel as a fan on that?
Yeah, that could be a very loaded question, but I agree with your assessment though that's something that Gundy is like we said before, he's nothing but consistent. I mean, he's very the way that he does things. I think it's one of those deals. It's the devil I know versus the devil I don't. I mean, that's the thing is he knows what Bowman's capabilities are. At least, I mean, good, bad, and different. At least we know what we got. I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of getting on the train of, hey, let's see what he's got. But at the same time, it's an unknown. I mean, it's for some reason as fans, I think we kind of have this view that, well, we throw in this backup and he's just going to come in and just be Peyton Manning. Well, that's probably not accurate, but he probably wouldn't come in and just be terrible either. It's going to be somewhere between those ranges, right? We just don't know where. I think one of the things I think moving forward, okay, Bowman is 7th-year guy, been in the program, done all these kind of things. But at the same time, at a certain point, because let's be honest, at this point, it's going to take an absolute miracle to get us back to Arlington. I mean, that's just reality. Okay, at what point do you realize, okay, this isn't working? We got to get ready for next year. Let's see if this does. Let's throw Flores in there and give the kid a shot. Let's start getting him some snaps.
I think one more loss, and that solidifies that. I think if Mike Gundy is still sticking with 7th-year senior quarterback after one more loss, because Arlington is completely out of the equation, your at-large bid's already out the window. And so I think if he's continuing to play him after that, it's to the detriment of the program. But you sit there and you listen to Mike Gundy on his press conference and his radio show on Monday night, and he says all the right things in the sense that he's very political. But you hear as a fan, Ollie Gordon, he has the good first quarter, then he doesn't get the ball hardly at all for the rest of the game. Brennan Presley, I think, had 4 touches. I mean, Alan Bowman runs the ball 2 times in a row. The offense is absolutely terrible on back-to-back weeks. But then you hear your head coach say stuff like, well, the concepts are good. Well, we don't need to really change anything. Well, what we're doing right now is what we need to be doing. We just need to get better at it. And you're thinking, what game are you watching, dude? I mean, what the hell are you watching right here? Did you not see is that him just playing the politics of it to get to a press conference, or does he really believe that stuff?
My opinion is I think that's politics playing to the rest of it.
I agree.
I think part of it, it's one of those things, if he was to come out there and say that, okay, well, every single week as well, our schemes are wrong, we didn't coach it very well at all, and basically just rips his coaches. Well, now his players are going to lose faith and confidence in whatever changes the coaches come up with. But I would like to think that behind closed doors, Gundy's probably not real happy right now.
Yeah.
At least I would hope so. Because not everything is fine. The football I've seen the last 2 weeks, not good at all.
Not acceptable.
We have to play better than that. There's no reason with the talent we've got on this team for us to not play better than that. The weird thing when you look around the league, though, Arizona did us a favor knocking off Utah.
Yep.
This weekend. So, I mean, if we were to, I'll put it this way, if we were to start putting it together this weekend and started playing like we know that we can, is there a possibility we can get back to Arlington? Yes. I mean, it's there, but we can't continue to play the type of football we've been playing. And I think the problem, what I'm seeing is last year we saw a change. This year, I don't know if that same change is coming.
Yeah. Well, you changed your entire offense in your off week to go to a gap scheme. And I know Oklahoma State fans are probably going to throw their cell phone or whatever they're holding in their hand right here through the computer screen or whatever screen, or throw their phone as soon as they hear me say this. But until you're eliminated from contention of the Big 12 title game, I think you have to stick with Alan Bowman until that happens.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's not – I mean, and the thing is, it's not like Bowman hasn't had his moments where he's been very good. It's just here in the last couple of weeks, it's just been terrible. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It's just been absolutely but my hope is, okay, if we can start to get that together, because the thing is, I think our defense is playing well enough. Well, I say that we gave up a lot of yards. We didn't look all that good on Saturday, but prior to this last Saturday, I would have said, okay, our defense is playing well enough that if we can just even be average on offense, we can win some ball games. Now, they're going to be grinders. They're going to be tight, but I'll tell you that this last Saturday defense didn't look good either. The other thing I look at is 2 things that have been kryptonite to OSU defenses is running quarterbacks and backup quarterbacks. For whatever reason, we get those two, that combination, and it just, I don't know what it is.
It absolutely is crazy. And you're talking about a running quarterback. Garrett Green comes into Stillwater Saturday. He is the second leading rusher for West Virginia. This is a young man that is very dynamic. He runs off of momentum. He runs off of adrenaline. So, he's got that baseball player to him to where, he likes the excitement of the adrenaline whenever you get a base hit or whatever. but he doesn't have the even keel of a baseball player. So if you let this young man come into Stillwater and run around the field, have 100 yards rushing in the first half, make some passes, have success, he's going to ride that momentum and be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. On the vice versa, if you can get him frustrated, he's shown that he will make mistakes that are absolutely catastrophic for West Virginia. So there's just been very little in between with Garrett Green. It's up to Oklahoma State to get him on the downer emotional state, if you will, as far as the momentum that he rides.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and the other thing I would say with, at least for us, with running quarterbacks, you know, okay, a guy like Green, he's going to get some yards on us. You're not going to stop him for, you know, that he comes out of the game with negative rushing yards like you would expect a quarterback to have back in the day when it's, you know, 3-step drop and that's it. Yeah. But my whole deal is just don't let him loose. You know, It's okay. He gets a couple yards, gets 4, 5, 6 yards on you one time. You know what? That's okay. We'll live to play the next day, or the next down, I should say. You know, and that's the other thing is if we can get him a little bit uncomfortable back there, you know, get him. You know, he has made some catastrophic mistakes. Make him throw the ball. You know, I think we can do it, but we can't continue to let guys just absolutely run free where we just flat don't have guys 10, 15 yards in front of them. You're not going to stop an opposing offense for 0 yards. That's not realistic, but we can't give up these massive plays, which, like we said before, that's a problem. That has been a problem the last 2 years, and I don't know what the answer is, but we got to fix it.
Yeah, C.J. Donaldson at big back. Him and Ollie Gordon are going to look very similar in build. He has been at West Virginia for 3 years. He's been a good player. They also have a freshman that's a really kind of the faster running back, so they have a little bit of thunder and lightning there. Their receiver room is led by Hunter Clement, who's just a former walk-on, a guy that you know has just kind of made himself. Jaden Bray, by the way, transfer from Oklahoma State. He's like the 7th leading receiver, so that tells you the receivers are very good. But I'll tell you this. This is a week where West Virginia's secondary, they're all transfers. All 6 guys in the back end for West Virginia transferred in this last year, and it just has not worked for them in terms of pass defense on the back end. So they're probably going to have to beef up the back end, play a couple of safeties deep. If there was a week for Ollie Gordon to get going and have 236 yards like we're expecting him, those types of games out of him, this would be the week against West Virginia. If OSU can't run against West Virginia this week, this is the biggest telltale sign of the entire season to me.
Football really is a momentum game. You know, I've always said that you start getting a little bit of momentum, start getting guys a little bit of confidence, those kind of things, it can go a long way in the sport. Let me ask you this question. As far as OSU defending West Virginia, how do you expect us to handle the blitzing? Because with running quarterback, you know,
our blitzing or their blitzing?
Our blitzing. Do you think we're gonna continue to blitz as we have before, or do you think we're probably going to try to pull that back just a little bit?
They have 2 All-American offensive linemen, and so their offensive line they're just like Oklahoma State's. I mean, they are very, very good at not giving up sacks. So I'll say this: if we're going to get pressure on Garrett Green, I think it's probably going to have to come from some type of pressure, and so. From that perspective, it's a little bit dangerous because if they swing out of back, then you lose one linebacker. And then if you blitz your other linebacker, then when you have a mobile quarterback, when you're playing man on the back end, now you're talking about instead of it being, you know, a secondary with their eyes on the quarterback that can rally and make it that 7-yard gain that you're talking about. They're running with the receiver. Now it's the Isaac Wilson 63 yards. So I think you just hit on a really big cat and mouse game. West Virginia's offensive line will be stingy in not allowing a pass rush. Will Oklahoma State have to blitz? Because if they do, it will be super, super risky if they continue out of a 40 front. Now, if they go back to the 30 fronts and say, hey, we're not going to get pressure with 4 anyways, so let's go to 3. Let's bring a 4th guy on a blitz that they may not know where it's coming from, where you can then play a little bit more of a zone on the back end to have eyes on Garrett Green, maybe have an extra spy on him like we've seen them do in the past. I've showed on some of the highlight shows. I think that would be probably a good matchup, but I think you absolutely, Oklahoma State's defense versus West Virginia's offense, hit the nail on the head of the chess game. How much does OSU have to blitz, and how risky is it going to be when they do?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and like we said before, that's kind of our identity and what we do when it comes to blitzing. Also think you got to look at your personnel and those kind of things. Personally, I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen a whole lot of push lately. I mean, most of the pressure that we've gotten has been. Well, I mean, we said before, we have a very talented linebacker core. To me, I may get skewered for this. I'm almost in favor of going back to the 30 front.
I am.
You know what I mean?
I've been very vocal about that.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people don't like it, and I will say, I mean, there are certain downs where you wouldn't do that. If you got if they're running a bunch formation or a jumbo set or whatever, and for a 3rd and 2, okay, you probably are going to have to put an extra down lineman in there. I get all that kind of stuff, but as a general thing, starting out 1st and 10, I kind of like the 30 front. Allows our linebackers to kind of run a little bit more quarterback spy. Again, I think the whole deal for this defense right now is limit the big plays. If there's one thing that I think that we can to really help ourselves out this weekend is just don't give up the big plays. Make them chew up yards. Make Green have to put the ball in the air a few more times. Good things might happen. We can get some picks on the back end.
I agree. I just think that 30 front, Oklahoma State's not winning the individual one-on-one matchups, which is what you need to do to get pressure on a quarterback without blitzing, right? So at that point, I just think Oklahoma State's better off at layering it. Hey, you have your front 3, you have your linebacker 3, then you have your secondary 3. So in essence, at any one given play, you could consider that 3-3-5 a 9-man box, because you could have 9 different players that all could go in and help with the run game at any one given time. We saw Kendall Daniels do that last year from the middle safety. We saw Trey Rucker do that. Of course, he's still the leading tackler. So I just think the layering of it for Oklahoma State, especially against mobile quarterbacks, is just a safer, and I think also just a better way to stop the opponent's rushing game, both with a quarterback and conventional. So, hey, I think that's a great point that you brought up right there in terms of keys to the game. Scott, what are you looking forward to Saturday?
We got to continue. Let's find what we found in the first quarter of the K-State game, where we found some running lanes for Ollie. Line going. I'll tell you something I kind of would like to see. Let's get our other backs involved. If nothing else, you could use Ale as a decoy. Because I tell you what, if a running back's got a hole, it doesn't matter if it's Ollie Gordon or Valahi or it doesn't matter who it is. They can hit it. Just get running back, get the ball to
Presley or Gavin Freeman. Let them run the ball a little bit. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's get an athlete in space, and let's get some offense going. Again, I think like we just talked about, limit the big plays on defense. That's something we got to do. The other thing that I think often kind of gets overlooked, and in my opinion was it really was a momentum killer on Saturday, was special teams. When we drove down there, we missed the field goal. It just. I get it. It's 3 points. You think it's not that big of a deal, but there's something about having now, if you're kicking a 60-yard field goal, nobody expects you to hit that. But when you've got a makeable field goal, you got to make it. There's a moment. So that's the other thing that could come into play is special teams. You got to take care of business on special teams for punts and field goals.
The honorary side of me was like, good. Maybe if we start missing field goals, Gundy will stop being so conservative on 2nd and 3rd down, and we won't actually call plays being okay to kick field goals. Maybe now we'll have to be aggressive and try to go score more touchdowns. The honorary side of me thought that way.
Yeah. Well, I think we all were hoping that, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about Saturday, need to get off to a quick start. If you get off to a quick start, West Virginia has not beaten a top 25 team on the road under the direction of Neil Brown. So if you could get off to a quick start, just don't allow a guy like Garrett Green to have any kind of positive momentum, whatever. I do think if Oklahoma State plays well in this game, this could be a game to where they see a lot of success. I think this is a game Oklahoma State should win. I hope that doesn't sound too cocky or anything. That's just how I feel.
I agree. I think if there was an opportunity to get right, this is the week to get right. You're at home. You're against an opponent that, again, nothing against West Virginia, but they're probably not as talented as what we've seen against Utah and K-State.
Or confident.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had a week that we should be able to get right, it would be this one. But again, we got a whole lot of stuff we got to fix. So I think we can win this game. In fact, if I was to throw out a pick, I think we will win this game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout because that's not really what we do. But I would like to think that we're going to see some things that are going to be better this week, hopefully.
Over under on rushing yards for Ollie Gordon.
For
OSU to win.
For OSU to win, I think he's based on based on what we talked about with their secondary and everything. I think he's got to get at least 125. I would like to see that number up around 150, 175. But I think absolute minimum would be probably 125. Realistically, probably at least 150. Would like to see that getting closer to 175, 200.
I'm setting the over-under at 150, and I'm going over. And I'm saying that with the caveat of if Ollie Gordon does not go over 150 on Saturday, OSU has worse problems in the running game than even I thought they had going into the game. I don't know if I explained that properly, but I just think the way this game sets up, if Ollie Gordon doesn't go at least 150 or above, OSU's got even worse problems than all of us even thought, as bad as it has been to this point, just because of the way I think West Virginia is going to have to try to beef up to try to play the pass. So, hey, it's going to be a lot of fun. I will be there on Saturday. I know you will be too, Scott. So, hey, thanks for joining. And we usually give grades, but, I mean, when you go to K-State and you lay the clunker that you laid last week, and I think we all know what our grade would be on Casey Dunn, Brian Nardo. I think we would all agree the press conference on Monday from Mike Gundy was frustrating to listen to and all that kind of thing. So I think everybody we know about the offensive line, the defensive line. I think everybody probably knows what our grades would be, right?
Yeah, I'll put it this way. We're not going to we don't have a 4.0 GPA. Let's put it that way.
That's fantastic. Scott, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, like I said, as always, loyal and true, we'll be there wearing our orange, and hopefully we'll come out with a victory. And the other thing, the last thing I'd say on this is because I agree with you on the rushing yards, I agree with you on all that stuff. The whole thing this weekend, we need something positive. We need to get in. Let's go get a win. Let's get something positive, and maybe try to start getting this thing put back together.
Mike Gundy's always at his best when his back is up against the wall, man. It's almost like Gundy. He would prefer the underdog role. He would prefer people doubting him. It seems that way to me. It seems like that's how his competitive nature works. And so we'll see if he actually views this situation in this part of the year as actually having his back up against the wall. He did not give any indication of that on his press conference, but we all know Gundy well enough to know that he doesn't always let on to exactly how he's feeling in those press conferences. So we'll see how much, or I think that's what Oklahoma State fans want more. I think they're totally fair to expect more. They want more urgency out of Mike Gundy in the way that he talks and the way that he acts in these types of situations.
Yeah, I don't expect a coach like we said before to go out there just rant and rave and those kind of things. But I think at least what I'm looking for is an admission that what we're doing currently isn't working, and we are going to make changes. Yes. Not just we'll look at the tape. No, I want to hear that changes are coming. That's really. And I would like to think that behind closed doors they will, because we've seen in the past with Gundy, we got enough history with him that hopefully that there will be some changes. But I'm curious to see what they are coming Saturday.